Hey, Damien, good afternoon. How you doing today?
Doing all right, Luca? How about yourself?
Good, doing great, thanks. But maybe to start, why don't we give our listeners here maybe a bit of background?
Yeah, sure. I began with the company over 20 years ago. Straight up, I was working construction because out of high school, it was easy to make money and I was physically fit. I was a amateur and then professional boxer at the time. So I started in the material handling division. Now, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been in the tractor division in Winnipeg and loving every minute of it.
Well, you look happy, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
How about yourself? You've been around a little bit, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been with Toromont for about 18 years, so not quite as long as you. Maybe that means I'm a little younger. I don't know. It's been quite a while, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Went to warranty, power systems, and then after doing that, most recently, I'm now the corporate product support operations manager for Ontario and Manitoba.
Ooh, you've been around. Your passport has been punched.
Yeah, that's right.
And now we're here doing a podcast on rebuilds, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Building Tomorrow podcast, where we dig deep into the Eastern Canada construction industry. With Toromont Cat specialists, we discuss heavy equipment, industry trends, and challenges affecting your business.
Well, I don't know, Damien, what would you say is one of the biggest advantages to doing a rebuild?
It's a good question. We've had, like I said, we've had double-digit rebuilds here, growth in over the last year from multiple different customers. We mentioned the one in Thompson. We have a bunch of Winnipeg customers that have also done it. Yeah. Each customer has a varied reason as to why they do the rebuild. To me, one of the largest factors, if I was a contractor, it would be the money up front. To replace a loader, and let's just call it $1 million, and to do a full CCR is, let's say $600 grand. Yeah. Is that about right, Luca? What do you think? Yep. So right off the hop, you're saving $400,000, and to me, it doesn't matter if you're an operation that's North American wide, Canada wide, or just in a municipality. That's a big amount of cash to be saving, right? Yeah. That's not the only reason, because you do have to replace older machines, and hopefully the customers are growing, and I do think as they expand, I think it's rebuilds are becoming more and more of an option. But the sales reps selling the equipment are seeing it, and it's becoming more of a fleet management tool to throw a rebuild in there.
They're growing at a ridiculous pace, which is great to see. Customers are really finding a lot of value in it.
A new machine price, a rental or a rental purchase price, a used price, and then the customer, and a rebuild price on one of their existing machines. And then the customer can take that and put us and price us against the competition as well.
Yeah. And would you say now, those rebuilds, what do they mean to you and to a customer?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think the 4 basic categories of rebuilds that in the common terms: component rebuild, a CPT, which is a certified powertrain rebuild, a CCR is a certified CAT rebuild, and then there's everything in between. A CPT plus would be powertrain rebuild with some additionals added onto it, maybe a harness or cab refresh. The fourth one is the component rebuild. I don't think I touched that. So a CMCR. Yeah. Even though we tear them all apart, on a CCR right down to the frame and build them back up, they are like new. They are not a new machine. And we can add upgrades to it and improvements, and you're going to get better performance. But it's like new. It is not a new machine. Yeah. And even as saying it's like new, we support rebuilds like they are a new machine with a warranty. Yourself coming from the reman. A pretty standard warranty on a rebuilt machine is 3 years, 5,000 hours. Which is a pretty damn good warranty in anybody's book.
Yeah, right on. There's all kinds of warranties. Yeah. I think we can offer all kinds of different flavors of these rebuilds, and it depends on the customer's price points and the state of the core that they're bringing us. The used machine that they want to have rebuilt.
Everything is like new, right? You have the warranty like new, the extended warranty like new, the financing like new with different programs and rebates accordingly, and everything is like new. So
even maintenance programs after the fact, right?
Yeah,
so we can throw a preventative maintenance contract on that thing after it's been rebuilt. Definitely, take all of that sort of risk out of the equation after you've rebuilt your machine.
And I think that plays into rebuilds, right? Do you want to rebuild a machine proactively, or wait until complete failure and the machine just completely dies or blows up, right? Without doing maintenance on it.
Yeah. Whereas some of our customers with the smaller machines tend to opt for more of a dealer rebuild option, where they have more flexibility and can choose to spend a little bit less if they'd like. So that's kind of the situation in Toronto. I don't know, how about Manitoba?
Yeah, we've been seeing an upswing on the rebuilds, or at least the interest in rebuilds as well. Like I said, I was in the tractor division here for the last 6 years. When I started, it was about 2 or 3 rebuilds a year. And then over this last year, we have double digits. It's 10 and 11 rebuilds. We just had another one signed up here in the last couple weeks. It's more options that the customers are getting. And I think there's a culture shift of customers not wanting to, or just looking at different options instead of replacing the machine. They're just hanging on to the machines longer and looking at rebuilds as those options. Like you said, it goes to life cycle cost and second and third life of the machines. And I think that's starting to make its way west into Winnipeg and Manitoba. So
you touched on it right there. I mean, it's about total cost of ownership, right? Like you buy the machine, you've got to spend money to fill it up with fuel and maintain it. But then at a certain point, it has to produce for you. When you spend that money on that asset, what's the total cost of that thing over the life of the machine is the key, right? And as a business owner, you want to really make sure that you lower that life cycle ownership cost. And rebuilds are a great feature to add on to the life of the machine. Choose to rebuild it at a fraction of the price of a new machine. It's a huge plus for the customer sometimes, right?
Yeah, I agree. And prior to over the last couple of years, like I mentioned earlier, there's growing awareness of rebuilds. And I think, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, rebuilds were mining only, basically, right? And it's starting to make its way over into the construction world. Different sized customers looking at options for rebuilds and whatever fits their fleet management priorities, I guess is what.
Yeah, definitely. I think it takes a shift in the mindset. But what we've found in our patches is that you get a customer a taste of it. You see the value in the whole proposition, and the next thing you know, they're doing 2, 3, and 4. And next thing you know, that's the way that they run their fleet. So I think it's about getting the word out there on these rebuilds being a really valuable tool to lowering your own costs. And next thing you know, it's a part of their mindset.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there for sure. At least that's what we're seeing. That we're seeing a lot of repeat customers, and maybe they look at the option of a rebuild and they don't go that way because this time around it doesn't make sense. But I definitely agree with you that once a customer has that example of a rebuild in their fleet and they're involved in the process, I think at least for us that was one of the game changers for us is having the customers involved, setting out the plan in front of them and setting out clear expectations of the rebuild and what the scope of it was. Invite them into the branch and see the machine being torn apart every step of the way. And once that happened, we actually had multiple people from the customers coming down to look at the machine. Maybe it was to check up on us, but everybody, when they see it and they see a machine that's been working in a quarry 4,000 hours a year, what is it, 7,000 parts all over our shop floor. It sounds like it's scrambled, but it's not. There's actually a plan to all that madness. Harnesses and windows and cabs and seats and joysticks and widgets all over the shop floor. So, and everything's being rebuilt back up. It's a pretty cool sight. It's awe-inspiring, actually, is what it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've taken some time-lapse videos of some of these rebuilds, which are super cool to watch. Yeah, and I think you could even see some on YouTube.
Bang on. Once the customer gets it back and starts using it and seeing that it's a refreshed version of their older machine, it feels comfortable, and even the operator being involved in the process is a key component to it. And I know you know this, but just for the record, we don't just have snow loaders and snow graders and graders moving snow in Manitoba. We actually rebuild other machines than just loaders. So we actually had a customer, which you probably know, they're up in Thompson, Manitoba. They're a big, large customer of ours. And they brought a D6 in recently, and historically, for the last, I'll say 30 years, and I could be off by a couple decades there either way, they have never done a rebuild in our shop. And they actually came around last year and did a rebuild with us, and it was a hit. And then when I went back up to Thompson and went to work, the operator loved it. There was hiccups along the way. It's when we do rebuilds, So there are things that are going to go wrong, and I think the Thompson branch and any branch, it's a big part of the rebuild and how we support it after the rebuild is completed. You're upfront and honest. Things do go wrong. It is machinery, and I think it's how we support it.
No,
the customer has actually brought another machine into us this year, and so we're doing something well, and there's talk of a third as well. So.
Yeah.
But regarding the time frame, when do you see the rebuilds coming through the shop? Because to me, I'll say through spring to fall, but the majority of those rebuilds all get done over the winter season. And I get it when the customers don't have the machines working, but it also puts that constraint on our shop. We can do it, but it just seems like everything gets jammed into that winter season.
Whether you're in Toronto or Manitoba, where maybe it snows 12 months of the year.
Okay, right? Take it easy now. It's actually 25 degrees out right now. So
but you're right. I think, there's that period. The thing is, we have the manpower to do it.
It's the planning too, right?
And that's exactly it. I think, whatever time of the year you do it, I think the key is, let's try to plan it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And, ideally, you'd want 4, 5, 6 months maybe to
ahead of
go time, let's say, and so we can order the parts, plan the manpower. It's like anything else, the sooner you can commit to a time frame, the more assured you can be that we're going to hit the time. It's better for both.
I agree. What's the proportion or the ratio you see to a complete rebuild to maybe a CPT, which is a certified powertrain, and then to component rebuilds?
CCR are definitely less common.
Yeah, I would agree.
They tend to make more sense on larger machinery and are fairly popular in the mining space, where
$1 million plus, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the machinery can be $2 or $3 million in some cases, right?
That's right.
So it makes a lot of sense to rebuild those machines.
Yeah.
And then when you start to get down, on the product line size,
that's right.
CPT plus territories, where you might do the powertrain plus additional hydraulic elements like
hoses, wiring harness, that type of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So we focus on the major element of the machine, which is the powertrain.
And I think, and this better than anybody, coming from Remand, and you touched on it earlier as well, as having that relationship, almost having a relationship or a comfort with that machine. We can actually rebuild the customer's engine. Let's say I'm just picking on the engine, their own engine, and flip it into a Remand component instead of buying one off the shelf, right?
Yeah, no, and I mean, just to springboard off of what you were saying, I think, a lot of our customers have relationships with their machinery, right?
That's right.
So, with that said, I think, there's an emotional attachment, let's say, to the machinery that they own. Yeah. You don't just start tearing the machine down. So the whole thing starts with that initial inspection. And, touching on that relationship that an operator maybe has with the machine, the whole thing is a process.
That's a great point.
We'll go to the construction site, sometimes we'll do an inspection on site with the operator and ask him what his pinch points are, what his pain points are, what does he feel.
It goes back to the communication side of it, right on every level. So make sure that we have enough information and are being as transparent, right? If the frame is rotted out, there's no point doing a rebuild on it. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think that initial inspection is so critical too, right? To not only assess, if it makes any sense at all, but it takes all the surprises out of the equation.
Yeah.
Once you've looked at the core and the machine, and that okay, well, it needs that, it needs that, it needs that. See what it'll cost.
Yeah. And
then if it's something the customer wants to go ahead with, well, no surprises.
Right. And I think that's a big point when it comes to the end date or the end bill. Let's be honest, it's a money thing. And then going a little bit further is it doesn't end when the invoice happens, right? There's follow-ups after it, whether that's at 250 hours or 500 hours. We continue on that relationship with that machine just to make sure the performance is there, right?
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch the machine after it leaves several times to make sure that it operates the way that it should. We've been on site commissioning machines after they've been rebuilt, and actually even before that.
Yeah.
But definitely, you can have the customer in and then follow up after 250 or 500 hours worth of work, and make sure everything's running.
And when we rebuild a machine, we can get it pretty darn close, but it's not quite the same as a new machine. But there is increased performance, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the performance, I've seen some of these operators just like they've tried the machine for the first time after rebuild, and their eyes are like, they're just like, holy cow, this machine is like, right.
It's like Christmas, right? Yeah. They get their new toy. Yeah, exactly.
And to them, it feels like it has more power than it had when it's new.
Yes.
I think you lose, I don't know what the statistic is, maybe 30 or 40% of your performance before you even realize it.
Right.
On anything, whether it be a car or a machine, right?
Yeah.
And imagine getting all that back in an instant after you've rebuilt it, and now you're on that machine again and it feels like it has 30 or 40% more power. It's a huge change, right?
In an instant is about 6 to 8 weeks later.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. And that would be my advice. In short, keep an open mind about it. Then you'll make a decision you're comfortable with.
And I don't see that trend slowing down, or at least quoting rebuilds or talking about rebuilds. I always go back to honesty and how I would like to be treated, whether that's buying a new home, buying a new car. To me, the reason why to do a rebuild is everything we just spoke about, taking into consideration the capital cost of new, how much work you have for that machine as a customer, and do you like what you have? If that's the case, then let's keep it rolling and rebuild a machine. Or not to mention, there's probably some kind of green initiative in there too, an environmental initiative, because you're rebuilding a machine instead of being or manufacturing a machine from new. But it's an option, and I think that's the biggest advice I would have. Put a rebuild in your option bucket, and then see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to relay it into the housing market, to build a new home is $700,000, $1 million, or do you buy an older home for maybe $300,000 or $400,000? I mean, depending on where you live. I'm just making up numbers just so that it's relevant with the machine costs. And trust me, my home isn't $1 million. I guarantee you that.
Sure.
Or do you refresh it, right? And you redo the kitchen or you redo the bathroom. And to me, that's the way to look at it. And I don't see that trend changing anytime soon.
You get a customer that has a fleet of machines and they've never done it before, and at first they're a little uneasy about the whole thing, and then they try one. And then it's like everything goes smooth sailing. The price was what we told them it would be. It works like a charm. It goes to work, and they saved a whole pile of money. And next thing you know, they're doing 3 or 4 more of these things and saving even more money.
Yeah.
And I know, Damien, you're the sales guy here, I think.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Shovel it on. Yeah, this is it. Go to the sales guy. Yeah. That started in the lift truck division, and now we're talking about rebuilds and mining and tractor, right? Yeah,
I know, that's right.
It's pretty cool. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and just let me know we're not crazy out here in Winnipeg doing more and more rebuilds.
No, not at all. Like, the pleasure is mine, and it's been fun chatting. Yeah, and maybe we can do this again sometime soon.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Building Tomorrow podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe so that you can join us again. For more info and tips from our specialists, check out our website and the Building Tomorrow blog. See you next month.